Good morning. Today is Thursday, September 24th, and we are going to go over independent and dependent variables. So, just a few logistical things for you. When it comes to attendance on synchronous days, I am keeping track of students who are in class, but also students who are turning in assignments. On asynchronous days, you need to watch out for the assignments or the question of the days that I give you. They will be posted on Wednesdays. And so you need to log on Wednesdays because even though we are not meeting, you need to show that you are here for attendance wise by doing the form or the assignment, whatever it is that I post on Wednesdays. Some updates for Google Classrooms or I'll show you Google Classroom. So I posted up the slides for this week. I know I'm a little bit late on that. And so every week, I'm going to post slides and they're going to be just task 0 and listed as material. So when you hop on, you can see the slides that I give you, keeping in mind that sometimes I build the slides day by day to change it based off of where the class is currently at. And then assignments, as you can see, are listed 1, 2, 3, all the way down. These are pretty much like posted throughout the week to hopefully make it more manageable for you. And if you notice on the sides, it says when the due dates are. Another very cool function that Google Classroom has that sometimes students don't know about is that you can hop down and there's a to-do list. And if you have a to-do list, it shows you all your assignments from the different class. I'm technically in one class. So here are my assignments when they were posted and due and everything. This means that I have not turned it in. So usually when you turn in an assignment, this will turn into a gray box. So that's an easy way to keep track of that. Okay, so back to class today. On Tuesday, we did this inquiry cube. I'm actually going to skip it for this explanation of the video because it's just more of an activity to get you started with thinking like a scientist, learning how to discuss together of the different clues and evidence that you pick up. So that was the big takeaway from this assignment. Today's learning target is I can analyze a graph and identify the independent and dependent variable in an experiment. So being able to figure out what I like to call the IV and the DV are very critical to even begin an experiment. There is a YouTube video, but for the sake of this video, I want to let you watch that on your own time since you have access to the slides. So we have 3 types of variables that we like to keep track of in experiments. The first one, like I said, is the IV or the independent variable. Okay, this is the variable that we are changing. We are choosing to change this variable to see how it affects all the other different variables in this lab. So think of it as the puppet master. I have a picture of Pinocchio. So Geppetto, the person who made him, for those of you who don't know Pinocchio, would be the IV. He was the one that created Pinocchio, and he controls Pinocchio by changing up different things. He does the affecting. Okay, the dependent variable is the DV. This is the variable that responds to the puppet master. So Pinocchio in this instance is the puppet. He is the DV. Anything that the puppet master, Geppetto, does to Pinocchio, he is forced to change. So the dependent variable is forced to change because of the independent variable. And then lastly, we have controlled variables, or more often than not, we just shorten it to controls. So these are the variables that stay the same the entire time. So on a puppet, something that you wouldn't want to necessarily change is, the materials that you use, so the strings. Okay. When it comes to setting up a graph, it is very important to know where the IV and the DV goes on the graph. Tomorrow we'll talk more about how to graph and more of placement and things, but just a quick run through. This is the x-axis and this is where the independent variable goes. Okay, the vertical line is the y-axis. That is where the dependent variable goes. And another way to remember that is with this drawing. So the I is down here, and then the D is right here. So IV goes on the X, DV goes on the Y. So some questions for you to review. What is an independent variable again? That is the variable that does the changing, or we're choosing to change to see how it affects the dependent variable. Which brings me to my next question. What is a dependent variable? Oops, grammatical error. I'll fix that right now. Okay. What is a dependent variable? So the dependent variable is forced to change because the IV is changing. And then a controlled variable is something that stays the same in the whole experiment. It does not change at all. Okay, here are some examples. You notice a book drop from different heights creates different sounds of different intensities. So you ask, how does the height that the book drops affect the intensity of sound when it hits the ground? Okay, let me show you some key elements to help you start to decipher what is even the IV and the DV, because there are a lot of words. So this word right here, affect, this is a key word. This breaks up the IV and the DV in a scenario. There's actually somewhat of a formula, so it's how does the IV affect the DV? I can type. That is usually how these questions are set up. So right now we have height. I'm going to highlight that for you to see. And then we also have sound when it hits the ground. Well, these are our two variables. And looking at this sentence structure right here, okay, I can then figure out that the IV is the height because it's the thing that I'm changing. And because I'm changing the height, the sound is what is being affected. The sound changes because I am changing the height, okay? And then something in this experiment that I would not change whatsoever is the book. I would want to use the same book the whole time to make sure that, the sound actually, the height actually affects the sound. And then when you are done going through the slides, I have one more example for you that you can try on your own. I want you to go in. You are going to do task number 6, which is finding relationships to investigate. You are doing this on your own. You can ask me questions if you have any, and that is the assignment for today.